Ebullient greetings. I'm your host, Jacquie Bird of Jacquie Bird Spiritual Wellness, your guide to stress and anxiety relief, mindfulness, awareness, self-care, self-love, and personal growth. Welcome and thank you for joining me as we roll with peace in mind. Today's riff is Are You on the Right Train? Riding on the Urge. These episodes feature people who are doing their thing, they follow their heart and their passion, and they create how they want, what they want, when they want. And they are riding on the right train. Today's spotlight is Laurelle Rethke. But before I bring my guest on, got some stuff to talk about that's coming up in April 17th. To Forgive is Divine. That's my guided meditation and journaling workshop. And it's to help get you in the thing of forgiving. We tend to get a little tripped up about that. We think that if we forgive someone, that we're giving them a pass. Oh, no, 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 no. Forgiveness is for you. It sets you free. That's April 17th, 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I hope that you join me for that. And April 25th, that Sunday, is my end of the month Stress Busters Guided Meditation virtual session. Come on and hang out. Good way to depressurize, de-stress, everything. And that's Sunday, like I said, end of the month, Sunday. That's at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And I'm hoping that my overseas folks come join me for that. And without further ado, I should tell you where it is. You can get that information in the show description. And also check out my website, JacquieBirdSpiritualWellness.com. And that's JACQUIEBIRD, Spiritual Wellness. Now, without further ado, here comes my guest. So, Laurelle, talk a little bit about grids and how they can benefit folk.
Right. Well, if you have anything in your life that you would like to manifest or bring in, whether that's healing or, a new job opportunity, you can create a grid with stones that you feel called will be good for that particular thing. And you can do it in all sorts of ways. A circle has one meaning, a square has another. Most people will do sort of a centerpiece with stones on 4 sides around it, or sometimes they'll do 8 sides around it and give extra spikes to the end. That's my favorite kind of grid. If you've seen the grids on my Instagram, I usually do that focal point with other stones coming around it. But certainly there are people who do different shapes like pyramids to sort of help ground them and connect with spirit. It really is an art. It's an art form. And so it's a great way to really play with the crystals and connect with their energies while setting an intention for what you would like to happen. Now, I do tell people in the book, and I will tell you now, make sure you're doing this for your own healing and your own path, as opposed to putting anything out there that is going to affect someone else. That would be considered, people don't realize it, but if you're trying to affect someone else to do something that you want them to do, that is going to come back and bite you. Some people say times 3, others say times 10. So make sure that everything that you intend is for you and your highest good. And if you're uncertain at the end, just say, as long as this is the highest good of me and all beings, right? Yes. Because you want to make sure that it's in alignment. Crystals are powerful. They magnify energy and they can certainly make things happen. But you want to make sure that it's for the highest good of you and all beings. Exactly. So that is something that I always include in my grid.
And I'm so glad that you said that, because ultimately in this world, the only person you can change is yourself.
Exactly.
And it is not about manipulating another human.
Right.
We've got enough of that going on in the world.
Yeah.
So and that's why working with stones in a conscious way to benefit and be of a benefit, you will be of a benefit to others. So you don't have to try to manipulate another person.
Exactly. When we come into balance, what is health? But in many regards, balance, right? So when we come into balance within our own body, within our own energy center, what we're sending out, what we're receiving, this balance brings us to a new understanding where we realize we don't need to try to control a situation or control others. There is no control, honestly, at the end of the day. And
Yes.
coming to an understanding of that and getting into the flow and following what feels right to you is so much more powerful and will manifest so much more of what you truly want for your life than people really realize. And you've just got it. That's part of the whole thing.
It really is. I told someone the other day, the focus should be on feeling good.
Yes.
What can you do in your life that's going to help you feel good? Because when you're feeling good, say that?
I said, hold a crystal.
Yeah, I mean, with the intention of feeling good.
Exactly.
Because the thing is, like, people go, oh, well, I hold a crystal, I don't feel anything. And I think I'm making up stuff. Well, guess what imagination is? Imagination can be looked at as making up stuff. But guess what? If you get your energy behind imagination, there are things that happen like airplanes. The airplane was a thought in someone's mind. So crystals help clarify, fine-tune, and send you like a magnet and an arrow.
Well, and I always say when it comes to imagination, someone I lead them through a meditation and they're like, well, I don't know, this is what came through and what I saw, but how do I know I'm not just making it up? How do I know it's not just my imagination? And I always say, well, think of the millions of other things that you could have imagined right at that moment. Mm-hmm. Why did you imagine that? There's no mistake. You imagined that because that's what was coming through for you. And so imagination in some way is intuition.
Laurelle, I got to interrupt you. Say that again.
Why did you imagine that? Out of the millions of things that you could have imagined in that moment, why is that what you imagined? Why is that what came through? It's no accident. It's no accident.
There are no mistakes.
It's a form of magic. Exactly. No mistakes. Everything happens the way it needs to happen. It may not feel good at the time while you're working it out and figuring out why this is going on. But once you do, and the more you look into this and really study this and align with spirit and the earth, which is, in my opinion, the physical manifestation of spirit and the divine, when you align with these energies and really get in your own body, in your own center, that's when magic happens.
That's when magic happens. That's when you're able to see it, because magic is happening all the time, all around you.
Yeah.
But we tend to focus on all the horrible things that are going on in the world and all of the, things that are happening in your life that you don't like. That is what takes our focus and takes up our energy and our time. And so working through crystals helps you, again, fine tune, bring the noise down, center and focus. Is there anything in the book that you would like to share with us? Anything you'd like to read?
Going back to it, I just wanted to say also, another thing that makes the book a little bit different is...
It looks beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they did a great job with the design, and there's a picture for every stone. So what you'll see here is the stone and some keywords, and then one paragraph basically on a little bit about the physical properties of the stone and how that might be affecting the healing properties. And then a couple of paragraphs on the healing properties, and then a section for trying it in your life. So if you're brand spanking new to the whole thing, this gives you a clue as to some way that you can bring the stone's energy into the work that you're doing with it. And if you're somebody who's studied them for years, there's new ideas in here for them, and maybe things they didn't know. For instance, wearing carnelian on your wrist can help with asthma symptoms. So different little things in there that maybe folks didn't know. And then there's a little tidbit at the bottom that just talks a little bit either about the history or some interesting fact or fun thing that maybe you didn't know about the stones. And then at the back, there's a glossary section, which goes into a lot of terms that not everyone might be familiar with, or at least my perspective and take on it. And then a really nice index at the back that if there's an issue, it'll sometimes list all the stones underneath it that can help with that issue.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, which I told them I really wanted that, because in other books, I'm always looking and then I have to go to every single new page.
Yes.
They didn't do it for every issue, but if there were maybe 3 or 4 that you would have to look up, they didn't do that. But if there are more, they seem to have really listed them by name so that you don't have to go looking through the whole book to find it. But then you
really
can see, well, which one of these do I have? And out of the ones I have, which one of these really feels like it resonates most with what I'm working with. But, you know, I think it's great to have that indexed, and it was important to me. But at the end of the day, this is what you always can do. You just put your stones out in front of you, and with a certain intention or issue that you'd like to resolve, and you just see, with that in mind, which stone calls your attention,
Right.
which stone really calls to you, at least that day, that week, that month, maybe that year, to help you through a certain situation.
Yeah. What's interesting is folks have said, well, you know, I was working with such and such a stone and I lost it. They feel very bad and they feel like they're irresponsible. What do you have to say about that?
Well, yeah, every time a crystal breaks or we lose a stone or something happens that we're like, again, I always go with there's always a reason. A lot of people will get a moldavite and they'll lose the first one and they'll be so bummed because it's not really cheap.
No, it's not.
But moldavite is a very intense energy, and sometimes it takes working with it in tidbits first to working with it more full time. So there's a reason I feel like the crystal left. Another thing is, you know, crystals have their own consciousness. Native American stone medicine teaching really says that crystals get where they want to go. They just take their time getting there sometimes. And so if a stone needs to be somewhere else, it's usually dual. It needs to not be with you, or it has a greater need to be somewhere else. It will jump. And that's the word crystal enthusiasts use. It will jump. And, you know, I have a story where I got rhodochrosite, which is not an inexpensive stone, but I got a piece of rhodochrosite and I was so excited. I actually got 2 little pieces. I put them in a Ziploc. I put the Ziploc in my purse and zipped it up. I had all sorts of crystals already, but, you know, smaller pieces. But I zipped it up. I got home. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. Like, just disappeared into the ether. And I was like, okay, well, I guess someone else needed it more. Wherever it ended up, that's where it needed to be. Or it wasn't time for me to work with this stone yet, or both.
Right.
And so I just trust.
And
Things
that's the
come to
key.
us, things leave us when they need to.
Right. That's the key to trust. You know, we tend to blame ourselves too a lot for stuff. And sometimes you just have to allow. Looked around for it, you know that you zipped it up, it's not there. Okay. Well, if it's going to appear again, it will.
Exactly.
If it's not going to appear again, it won't.
And sometimes they do.
Yes.
But, yeah. And, you know, it can be part of the lesson too. If what comes up for you is that you're irresponsible, then maybe that was part of why it happened. So you would look at that and address it and find ways to resolve that in your life. But a lot of people, it's the same thing with breaking a stone. They're like, oh my God, why did it break? And I'm like, well, sometimes it just breaks because you need 2, 1 for each hand.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it breaks because there's something magical inside you wouldn't have seen otherwise.
That's right.
Or sometimes it breaks because you need to work with something that's broken within you, or where you feel something's broken within you. And you start to come to understand that nothing's ever really broken, right?
Wow. And that's a biggie, you know, because we tend to use that word for ourselves. You know, I'm so broken.
Right.
So broken, you know, and nothing is broken.
Yeah.
There are phases, there are stages. You are in the stage of feeling like you're broken, but you're not broken.
No. Trust me, I think you and I have both felt pretty broken at times.
Girl.
Especially going through the theater industry, right?
Girl.
But yeah, that's what you come to really learn and understand is it's just our perception. I mean, we are all true children of the divine energies. It's right within us. And when we learn to move beyond those perceptions that we have and understand this greater truth, and there's that word truth, right?
Truth. Greater truth.
That greater experience of connection and alignment. This is, again, I don't know why I keep saying magic, but this is when magic comes into your life, when you start to really open up and understand the truth of who you are.
Yes.
And what that really means.
And that is magic. That is the magic. That is what this journey is about. Reconnecting to your source, which walks within you as you walk. But we are so divorced from it because we feel that it's outside of us and that it's what other people say and what our parents say and what our boss says. And we don't listen to that little quiet voice inside going, hi, I'm over here. I'm right here. I'm with you everywhere you are. I'm there because I am you.
And that's part of why I call this the book Connecting with Crystals, because to me, everything is about connection. And when we do connect to that, it's really subtle energy, but connecting with stones helps us learn to read those subtle energies in a more powerful and palpable way. And when we can read those energies around us or in the rocks and minerals, we start to be able to read them within our own body in a new way.
Yes.
And, you and I dancing and being very physical people, we already had some of that understanding through the work that we were doing, that connection with the floor, that connection with other partners that you're dancing with. That's lot of that about connection and those subtle energies.
Absolutely.
And so I think it was great training. I mean, for one, it's like a moving meditation, but two, it's great training to be able to open to the subtle energies of stones. And yet still, I didn't feel the energies of stones, or at least I didn't think I did, for a year after I started working with them. I was even telling them, and I still didn't think I could feel them. But I realized over time, I was feeling them.
Right. That was going to be my question. Because I think we have a preconceived notion of what feel means. It's not feel. You're talking about feel. And that has a whole different resonance to it.
Yeah.
It's like we all have it, but some of us just are a little bit more connected to it than others. But when you walk into a room full of people that you don't know, you are already on high alert. There are people that you will gravitate toward, and there'll be people that you'll stay away from. That's all part of the innate resonance going on. And radio station, you're connecting with the waves that are in the room that other people are broadcasting. So stones are no different. You're already picking up on those waves. So, crystals, working with crystals should not necessarily be that far-fetched. It's the same thing. It's connecting, the title of your book, with energy and being aware and conscious of your own energy, not somebody else's, your own energy. That's what we kind of don't realize. We want that person not to be in a bad mood. We want that person to give us what we want. What are you doing for yourself?
Right. Maintaining our own center is key. And, I think, I was a very feely person.
Well, in the arts,
theater folks are. Dancers, we huggy, feely kind of folk. Right. And I think that was what threw me off a little bit too. I thought I was going to feel it in a similar way that I felt emotions.
Interesting.
And so I sort of had to get to a place of, it's so subtle. It's like, this isn't quite so subtle an example, but it is subtle. It's the difference you feel between being in the middle of Times Square and what that feels like, and being at the beach and what that feels like. It's a subtle
Just good example.
Yeah, it's a subtle shift in how you feel, but it's there. And when I started really opening to the subtleties and practicing, the way I really started learning it was I was taking a crystal class, and my teacher said, you want to cleanse the stones in between sessions, so put it on a bed of selenite. Well, I was like, okay, I can do that. I get home and I put the crystals on the selenite, and I'm like, she didn't tell me how I was supposed to know when they're clean. How am I supposed to know that? So I would check in every hour or so and be like, are you clean yet? And just because I didn't know what else to do, overdoing that, every hour or so for a couple of days, or after a few hours, I was like, you know what? I feel like you're clean. So I'm just going to trust it. There's that word, trust.
Right.
I'm going to take that one off, but I'm going to leave this one on a little bit longer. And eventually I got to this and was feeling like, well, if it's not clean after 24 to 48 hours, then, I guess it's not going to be clean. But through doing that over about a month's time, I really started to sense the subtle energies in a way that I hadn't before. And then someone asked me, they didn't say, what do you think about this? They said, how do you feel about amethyst? Right. And I went, oh, Oh, that's how I feel about amethyst. It's a huge release, a huge like letting go. Like
Yeah.
my mind went more quiet. I just
Mhm.
felt better inside. I was like, that's how I feel about the stone. It was just so subtle. I hadn't realized it before.
And it's simple.
It's so
simple. We
It's
look
more
for
simple than we
hard.
want to make it. Yeah.
Now I want to go to selenite. The thing that you talked about using selenite to cleanse those two stones, I've used selenite for healing. And I was in, is it Namaste? The store
Yeah.
on 14th Street? Right. I was in Namaste. I was looking at stones, and one of the workers brought a big honking selenite wand out. And she took the wand, and I kid you not, folks, she took that baby and she just moved it over the stones on that table. And I am telling you, I kid you not, I witnessed those stones glisten. I had just been looking at them. And when she took that wand over those stones, I saw them glisten. And the thing is, you talk about subtle energies. Well, sometimes I'm not so subtle. And as I watched her do that, I went, oh, wow, like really like you. Like a child, right? Whoa. And she just smiled. And it was beautiful because it was that very knowing smile. She didn't have to say anything. It was just, she knew that I was aware of what I was witnessing, and the energy and the power was really cool. It was funny, so I had to laugh at myself. But that's the power of selenite, y'all. That's the power of selenite.
I like to call it the light worker stone. Because, well, one, you can just see it glimmers beautifully like light, or it's long, thin, striated crystals that are all bound together, and it's sort of like fiber optics. It is so energetic, especially the satin spar variety, which is, as opposed to the fully all one crystal. When it's all the crystals working together like this, it's a great alignment stone. Really helps you connect above. It's very protective. But helps you connect to guides, angels, all that, and also helps to open up the whole midline channel so you can connect more fully to the earth as well. It's named after the moon goddess Selena, and so you can see it's got that lunar light. And lunar light, I mean, we think of solar and how powerful it is, but lunar light has a significant inner power that is what many of us seek to bring into our own lives. And it really, I find that most light workers are really drawn to this stone. They love this stone. They're like, oh my God, selenite.
Selenite,
exactly
man.
How I feel too.
Selenite, that stone was one of two stones that helped me get over a really, really, really bad case of sciatica.
Yes, because it's an alignment stone. I know, I'd say about 75% of the people I give it to put under their bed that have back issues, a month later, they come back to me and they're like, my back is better. It's really better. And I'm like, I know it, because it's aligning your spine while you sleep by also aligning your spirit, aligning your emotions, centering you, all of that.
My guy calls that my stick shift, because I would stick it in my pants because that was the only way I could sit down at the computer. Was because I couldn't sit down. So I would put that in my pants, so it would be sticking up out of my pants. So he would call that my stick shift, I see you get the stick shift, but
yeah, that's amazing. Selenite works with so many things, tendon issues and broken bones, sciatica. It helps so many things by moving that energy through. And this is something I wanted to mention earlier. You said, what is truth? Well, truth is our personal experience in some regards, right? And though we can get out of alignment through that process, it can also help to bring us into alignment.
Absolutely.
So I love to hear people's stories and people's experiences, because once you have an experience like that, nothing's going to change it.
That's the teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
And
if you're being empowered through what you're learning, then you're on the right track.
Oh my goodness. If you're being empowered by what you're learning, then you're on the right track. You always know, because again, it comes back to that feel word. Does it make you feel, folks will go, well, I didn't go down the alleyway because it didn't feel right.
Right.
Well, that was your intuition talking to you, and you listened. And stones help that connection even more when
Right.
it's done consciously and with intention.
Right. Right.
Laurelle, girl, what's next for you? What are you looking to manifest?
Honestly, in a sense, I'd love to jump in a van and go around the country and teach classes and do book signings and things like that. We'll see if that manifests or not. I'm just sort of taking action, but seeing what the universe brings my way. I'm super excited to have #1 hot new release on Amazon.
I think that's awesome.
I'm hoping that that will open up the right avenue for where spirit wants to take me. And that will also bring me much joy and liberation of my own.
So just tell us, I'll have these in the show notes so you can go to her website, her Instagram, all that stuff. But just tell us, where can we find you?
Sure. It's easiest to find me at thefairyden.com. And I spell fairy like the British do. So it's Faerie. So you can find me on Facebook at The Fairy Den, and also Instagram at The Fairy Den, and also Twitter at The Fairy Den.
Branding, folks.
And who knows where else in coming days. That's my main way. But also I have a newsletter that I put out monthly-ish, because things get busier. But that's a great way to connect with me and sort of get videos like this one. I will put on the newsletter so people can see what's coming. I talk about events and signings and things that are coming up in the newsletter, and you can sign up for that on my website. And if you want to come see me, by the way, my healing site is connected to the Fairy Den as well. If you just go to the healing tab and click down, you'll see 5 Cents Healing. That's my healing business that happens here in the Fairy Den. But if you want to connect with me, I love it when people text me. It's easiest for me to get back that way, but you can find my email and all that stuff on my website as well.
Awesome. Lady, thank you for your time. I know you're busy.
I
hope that your book blows up.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's so nice to see you and so nice to chat with you. We have to do this more often.
I know. I agree.
I
agree.
You bring me so much great energy and joy. And I just love speaking with you. So thank you.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Close to my heart.
Wow. I hope that you enjoyed that and was thoroughly inspired and uplifted by what you heard. If you are in a situation currently that is unfulfilling to you, be it a job or a career you've been pursuing, and you feel like there's something else that you really want to do, or you already know what that is, get quiet, sit still, breathe in and out deeply, and begin to envision what that is that you wish to create. And remember, there's nothing too big. It's only small ideas. Think big and write that down. What is it that you wish to create? Write it down, put it in your phone, speak it out loud to people that are supportive of you, and go for it. Go for it. Don't delay. Start now, even if you plot in your mind what your escape plan is going to be. But go for it. This life is meant to be lived to the fullest. Take advantage. No matter what is happening in your life right now, there can always be room to create more. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to visit JacquieBirdSpiritualWellness.com. Join my mailing list. I've got workshops coming up, as I mentioned earlier in the program. I have audiobooks, guided meditation videos, and audio and meditation music, everything for inspiration and to help you relieve stress, increase your mindfulness and awareness and presence. And remember to always roll with peace in mind.